EVE Online has really passionate players. Part of it is due to the fact that when you make a game that is intended to be a massive sandbox, people get really in their feelings about their sandcastles. That's not an inherently bad thing, but how do people express their feelings about the game, aside from creating drama on Reddit, that is? CCP found a way and created something called the Council of Stellar Management. This is essentially student council, but for adults who play the same video game and represent different player-led groups in said video game. Hi, I'm Amoni Panala, and today we're talking about the Council of Stellar Management. Before we get too deep into the weeds, I'm not going to be talking about the history of CSM, just what it is today. Candidate submissions are opening in just a couple weeks, so now seems like a good time to talk about what the CSM is. The Council of Stellar Management is a 12-person group of people who are elected each year to represent the players to EVE Online's developers. The idea is that they will be able to share player-held sentiments with developers and help shape the development the game moves forward. CSM members are given an advanced look at the development of new content and changes to the game and guaranteed a certain amount of responsiveness from CCP when they raise issues. This is a really cool thing in concept. I don't know of any other MMO that has an ongoing representative body of players who get to speak to the developers and have a guaranteed response from them. In other MMOs I've played throughout the years, there have been one-off events where players would get a similar chance to make their opinions known to developers, but having an elected body of players to make their concerns and desires known to the developers, and it's ongoing every single year, that's absolutely bonkers. Now there are a few problems which I want to flag as probably obvious to some but worth mentioning. The CSM is essentially a popularity contest. The people who get elected to CSM are people who are well-known personalities, not necessarily the people who have the best intentions for the game or the players. This doesn't mean that everyone who gets elected to the CSM is a bad person or that they have bad intentions. But it does mean that the person with access to high-quality streaming and/or recording equipment and a vibrant personality has a good chance of developing the kind of following necessary to get the votes for CSM. That person may be a lot of fun to watch on YouTube or Twitch, but being fun to watch and being someone who is going to advocate for player interests are not the same thing. Now you might be thinking, Amoni, do you hate democracy? No, I don't hate democracy, I promise. Let me explain. I compared CSM to Student Council because, like Student Council, they don't have any real power. They get to speak with devs, and devs have guaranteed they'll respond. That's it. That response could be, LOL, cool story bro, tell it again. And while the reality isn't quite that bad, it is clear that CCP will always prioritize their own interests over what the players want, even if the CSM makes reasonable requests. For years, players have pointed out that scarcity of resources hasn't actually helped the game. But this newest expansion to the game, Equinox, is basically a scarcity expansion. That's why I went from being excited about what Equinox could do for the game to livid about the result. Knowing this, the CSM is susceptible to being a group of personalities who are popular with players yet have no idea how to advocate for what players want, even if they did. They might just be ignored by CCP anyways. That said, while I am skeptical of the CSM after seeing the results of what happens when a popular streamer becomes a CSM representative, I'm not totally tinfoil hat about all this. Sometimes the CSM is able to provide a focused and clear voice of protest when CCP makes a really bad decision. The most obvious example is when Equinox was released. There was widespread outcry over the balance changes and what it would do to the game. CCP recognized they had been overzealous and scaled back the changes they were making to the game. That's it for this video. Hopefully I haven't turned you into a totally jaded individual who thinks the CSM is bullshit. I don't think it's bullshit. I just think it needs to be taken for what it is and understanding the limitations that even the best representative has when taking on the role. Fly dangerously, folks.